Welcome back to That Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Vincent A. Lanci.
And what's up? I'm Matt Frevola. They call me the Steamrolla.
I'm excited to bring on an entrepreneur whose name you will recognize from his recent fight card with Conor McGregor. Matt's hard work and story of perseverance will propel your mindset to new levels. Each week on this platform, I interview a different entrepreneur from across the globe. I will continue to offer episodes in all industries to provide you with many different perspectives. You never know which motivational journey will inspire you most. Each guest will take you through their story and help you learn from their successes and lessons learned. My guest on the show today is someone who you will continue to hear his name for years to come. This is an awesome episode to deliver, as this entrepreneur also grew up on Long Island and is now down here in Tampa, Florida. The Steamrolla made his debut in the octagon in 2017 and has a record of 8-2-1. And this entrepreneur is a perfect example of what dedicating yourself to your passion can do, along with believing in yourself. His story of following his dreams is sure to be the motivation you need to take that next step. So allow me to now introduce Matt Steamrolla Frevola. Matt, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, of course, man. You know, we go way back from Long Island and then University of Tampa. So,
Sure.
you know, you got an inspiring story, and I'm glad to be here, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on. Would you mind please introducing yourself to our listeners and previewing your story without giving away too much of that entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, yeah. So, you know, I'm Matt Frevola. I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter. I'm fighting for the UFC now, and you know, I've been at this journey of martial arts for 10 years, maybe a little bit over 10 years. Uh, and You know, I started out as a high school wrestler back in the day, and then you know, transitioned to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and then, you know, started fighting as an amateur, eventually went pro. And you know, the goal from the beginning was UFC. You know, that's the big leagues for fighting. And you know, now we're in the UFC, and now I'm making a name for myself in the UFC.
It's a great example. A lot of things you said there. 10 years doing this, how you've had different levels going from different parts of mixed martial arts to now getting your goal of the UFC. And as you said, you are making a name for yourself because you continue to work and make it happen. I think it's a great time here to get into the big five here, Matt. You ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
When did you realize that you either weren't happy with what you were doing or you need some kind of push in the right direction to truly start your entrepreneurial journey?
You know, I would have to say I did a little stint of junior college in Massachusetts, Franklin, Massachusetts, Dean College. And you know, I graduated out of high school. I didn't really have very good grades,
Mhm.
so you know, I went to this junior college, and I was able to keep playing football and keep playing lacrosse. And I didn't think about fighting back then. You know, I love football, I love lacrosse, I loved competing. And you know, I went to Dean College, and I was still a kid, man. I was still just you know, messing around, not really taking anything seriously,
Right.
and partying and whatnot. And then you know, I started playing football with these guys, and I realized I wasn't the best anymore. You know,
Yeah.
I at Dean College, all these guys were coming from Georgia, were coming from Florida. You know, I was a linebacker weighing like 180 pounds. I was the smallest linebacker by like, you know, 20 pounds. And you know, I played hard. You know, I was on the practice squad the whole time, and stayed with the team. We actually ended up winning a bowl game that year,
That's awesome.
and it was great. But you know, after that, I played lacrosse, and you know, I was messing around at school, and you could probably guess it. You know, I got into a fight, I got drunk, I got into a fight, I got kicked off lacrosse team, and it wasn't looking good. You know, and then that's when I kind of found Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And coming from that wrestling background, I started doing jiu-jitsu, and I just fell in love with it. And it was really something that I could focus on, I could put my time into. And I started watching the UFC from there. And I would say, you know, going back to that question, I got kicked off that lacrosse team. And once that happened, I was lost. And then I found Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and that really really, brought me, got me focused and gave me something to really pursue.
It definitely sounds like it played a transformative role in your life. It was there at the right time, maybe gave you the push and direction. Did you start doing that down in Florida, in New York?
Did a little bit in Massachusetts, and then I went home to Long Island, and I was training with Matt Serra, who's a UFC champion and like a very well-known UFC fighter. And I was doing jiu-jitsu at Serra BJJ, and that really started the journey.
Well, since you've been on this journey here, what would you say two of the most difficult parts of being on your own are?
You know, jiu-jitsu. I was always a tough kid. I was a wrestler, athlete, whatever. And then walking into the Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Serra BJJ. I thought I was hot shit, but you walk in there and you get humbled quick. I was a tough guy, but then there's this kid who's 120 pounds who is like 5 years younger than me, and he's just choking me out. And I was humbled, and that's what martial arts does to a lot of people. It really humbles you, gives you good perspective, and it kind of just it lets you know that you put in the work, you learn the technique, and that's really what matters.
So that was the most difficult part of your craft to pick up for you. What is your favorite part of the craft?
Man, it's human chess. Really, every submission has a counter. Every counter has a counter, and just being able to like set up your submissions, set up your positions, and it's literally human chess, and it's so much fun, and it really changed your life.
I bet it will. You're on your way to doing great things. A 2-1. What else would you say is difficult for you as far as just being an entrepreneur?
Building my brand. As an amateur, I started fighting, and I had a couple of companies that really believed in me,
Mhm.
and they would help me out when I needed help with fight camp, and they'd send me gear, and being able to have people that really believe in you and are willing to support your journey, it was huge, and especially at the amateur level. And then a lot of those companies are still with me till this day, and I built great relationships with them, and they help me, and I help them as much as I can, and it's a great relationship.
Great points there. Forging relationships that impact you positively. You need to surround yourself with the right pieces, the right people around you to keep you in the right spirits. And yeah, I can certainly resonate with building the brand. There's so many different parts to it. And marketing is certainly not my strong suit. I'm working right now at hopefully some interns to bring that social media presence up a little bit, but can relate to everything you said there. Looking back here, Matt, what would you say one of your greatest failures or lessons learned is? And what did it teach you? Why is it still stuck with you all the way until today?
Yeah, as an amateur, I went through my amateur career, and I was 9-0 as an amateur, undefeated amateur, and then I went pro, and I got up to 6-0. I was 6-0 as a professional, and I got into the UFC, and it was a huge time in my career. I finally I made it where I wanted to be, the UFC, the big stage, the big lights, and then my first UFC fight, I went in there and I got knocked out in a minute. It was rough, man. It was my first loss. It was I didn't really get to go out there and really show anything. It was a quick fight. It was a minute. It was a barn burner, and I lost. And after that fight, that was definitely my biggest setback, and having to keep my heart, keep my belief after that. And up until then, they call me the Steamroller because I would just run through people. I'd go there, balls to the wall, throwing just going hard, and it never failed me. So I went into that fight, and I did what I've always done. I go in there and I throw down and I fight my fight, but it didn't work out for me. I got knocked out, and after that fight, I had to take a step back and really get like more of a calculated approach to fighting, and really start game planning, breaking down my opponents. Take a breath and be more calculated. That was the key, and I learned from that loss, and I came back more calculated, and every fight I grow, and that's what the whole journey is about, is growth, and being able to, improve as a martial artist, as a man, and just keep that growth going.
I love your mindset. You can't look at things as a loss or a failure. You took a learning lesson out of it. You step back and now you're more strategic with it. For everybody listening on, what was something that helped you stay positive and stay afloat and not let you get thrown down mentally, that is?
Surrounding myself with the right people. As soon as that loss happened, I went back to the gym.
Mhm.
I talked to my coaches. We broke down the fight. We broke down my whole career, and we decided what we needed to work on, what we needed to improve on, and we went from there.
I love it. You're really giving great advice here. Now, Matt, if you could choose to have a conversation and learn from anyone who's on their own, any entrepreneur, who would you pick their brain?
Man, I think that guy that I was out in Abu Dhabi Fight Island with, Conor McGregor.
Let's talk
You
about
know,
that.
yeah. So I was out in Abu Dhabi, and I would go out to this pool the whole fight week. I'm cutting weight. I'm kind of focused on my fight, and I would go to this pool that was a big pool. So, and there's really nobody there because there was a party pool, and then there was this other pool. So I'll go to this other pool because it was bigger, so I could swim. And it was really just me and my team there. And then Conor McGregor shows up to this pool, I guess, because there was nobody there, and it was McGregor and his team, and then me and my team. So I got to kind of hang out, talk with McGregor a little bit. I didn't get to pick his brain too much because he was
Right.
dialed in, cutting weight and stuff too. But it was real cool just kind of talking with him a little bit and being able to see his presence and yeah, if I could definitely pick his brain more, that's the guy.
Preview right there for the spotlight story coming up, but I'm sure it's very humbling for you to be in that same room or at the pool with him, Conor McGregor, who was at one point, we all know, arguably the biggest name in UFC, had the throwdown with Floyd.
Yeah, definitely. And then you could go back and when I was 2-0 as a professional, I went to my first UFC event, and it was in Boston, and it was McGregor was the headline. It was the first UFC event I went to, and I got to go to that event and just see the lights, see the Irish fans, the energy that they would bring, and then watching Connor go out there and knock this guy out, and that day I was I really I was it motivated me so much to make it to the UFC, and then being able to fight on the same card as him,
That's insane.
about like 6-7 years later, it was unreal.
Another testament to setting your mind to something and you never know what can be accomplished. We're talking another 7-year span. We've talked about 10-year spans. Good things take time, and the Steamrolla here is a great example of that. But Matt, let's look into the future a little bit with your whole Steamrolla brand here. We're going to do 1 year and 5 years out. Where do you see the Steamrolla 1 year from today?
I gotta keep fighting, and I gotta keep winning. I gotta put a year. I'd like to get three big wins in a year. I always try to
Love
fight
that.
three times in a year, but not just wins. I got to go out there and finish. I'm looking for knockouts, for submissions. Go out there and finish fights. And as long as I do that, my name, my brand will keep keep exploding, keep growing. And again, with the, like you were saying, with the social media, just keep the content coming out, and keep everyone engaged in the journey.
Yeah. Is there one goal you have for yourself throughout your whole UFC career by the time you're done? Is there one thing that you really want to accomplish and check off your list?
That's that UFC world title. That's that. If you're not shooting for that, I don't know why you're in the game anymore. That's the top of the top, and we got to keep climbing those rankings. One fight at a time, one training session at a time, one camp at a time, and just keep making those improvements and keep climbing that ladder.
Small improvements will get you there. And I think it's now a great time for that spotlight story. On each episode, I share the journey of an entrepreneur, and I would love your take on it. And since we have a rising star in the UFC today, I will now introduce the entrepreneurial journey of someone we've just mentioned, UFC contender Conor McGregor. We all know McGregor is one of the biggest names that people think of when they hear UFC, and as I mentioned, he had that collision in the ring with Floyd Mayweather. Conor is a former MMA champion and founded Proper Number 12 Irish Whiskey after retiring. I caught a great article with an interview in Entrepreneur site online, and I read in 10 days he sold 6 months worth of product when it released. When asked if he took any lessons from the MMA to developing and marketing this product, he said, quote, "Absolutely. I always apply lessons learned throughout my life to whatever the current project is at hand. So MMA and Proper Number 12 is no different. A strong work ethic, the desire to learn, and holding yourself accountable will get you far. It would have been easy to just sign an endorsement deal or have someone do all the hard work, the tastings, etc., and just give me an overview, but that's not how I do things. Proper Number 12 is who I am, and although I am anxious at times just to launch it, I couldn't wait to share it with the world, so I took my time, put in the hard work, and have the best team in the business." Matt, what do you like best about his overall story?
Man, I love it. He was always the man before that. And then he comes out that proper whiskey, and that's setting him up for life. Especially as a fighter. We know that as a fighter, I can't be fighting my entire life. I'm 30 years old now. I'm lucky to be fighting for 5 more years. So, that's always what I have to think about, what's after fighting. And a lot of fighters are left with, once they're done fighting, they're kind of lost. And the way that McGregor set up that whiskey and the way that his business is just booming, that's ideal how he did that.
Yeah, he built a platform, and then with that platform, I mean, the rest seemed to be pretty easy, selling 6 months of supply in 10 months, and I think you're on your way to building a quite large platform. So, Steamrolla, I got to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I know our listeners are going to see all the value in your show. I loved how you emphasize hard work and persistence. Like we said, 7 years, some goals took you. 10 years, some goals took you, and then your hard work. It's a perfect episode to describe what hard work can be because you got to be on the same fight card as Conor McGregor. But it is time for the last word. And I also do this in my other podcast series because I want the listeners to really have the opportunity to get to know each guest I bring on. Is there something that you would like to share that we did not touch on yet today?
Just the journey, and enjoying every part of the journey, and trusting, the process of, there's always going to be setbacks. And I always say, these setbacks are what really define you. Sometimes people are gonna, you're gonna lose, you're gonna get hurt, whatever it is, you're gonna have a setback, but it's how you come back from that setback that really defines who you are. And even my last fight, I lost my last fight, but that's just lighting a fire under my ass that I'm back in the gym, back working, and I'm looking to come out in May and get a huge win, and just keep the momentum going from there.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing all of your future success. Would you now mind please taking the time to share all of your social media, any websites, any ways for our listeners to request your services as a speaker, follow your endeavors as a fighter?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram, Steamrolla Frevola _MMA. I definitely try to do most of my stuff on Instagram, and share my fight camps, share my training, and you can hit me up on there if you want to talk or do anything. I'm always interacting with everybody, and you know, if you are going for whatever you're going, just hit me up, and I'd love to talk about it.
Be sure to head to his page right after this episode, and it is also social media time for the show, and we're on whichever platform you like to use. We're at That Entrepreneur Show on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, and we're at Podcasts by Lanci on Twitter, so you have updates from this show and a mental health break. Of course, my handles are at Vincent A. Lanci for all social media and YouTube, and my website is vincentalanci.com. If you check out my books, DM me. I would love to hear from you all. We have Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health, Left for Dead, A Story of Redemption, and How to Transform Your Mindset When the Norm is Changed. All are on my website now. And as always, I will end the show with a quote that inspired me and know it will for you too. This one is from Conor McGregor, the entrepreneur from today's Spotlight story. He said, You've got to be passionate about what you're doing. Find your passion and chase your dreams fearlessly. I've had a lot of crazy dreams in my life, and they've all come to fruition because of my passion, hard work, and will to succeed. You've got to put in the effort day in and day out to perfect your craft and never give up. Never settle, never be complacent, stay hungry to learn, and always try to be better than you were yesterday. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you all on the next episode of That Entrepreneur Show.